Hey everyone, Thyworm here, bringing you another episode in the series Making It to Maps, where the goal is to help new players reach endgame while providing some helpful information. Today we will talk about currency for beginners. I will be focusing on useful currency while leveling. Everything else we disregard for now, just put it in your stash. In terms of usefulness, I would say this system is absolutely mandatory. Contrary to most other action RPGs, Path of Exile doesn't have a single commodity like gold. Instead, it has what is commonly referred to as currency, a collection of several items that are used for trading and crafting. The trading part, and I'm only talking about trading with NPCs by the way, is pretty self-explanatory. NPCs sell items, they are listed, and you can buy them if you have the required currency. The crafting part of currency is a lot more interesting, and today we will cover the basics and talk about some examples. The focus is only on currency that you should be using while leveling. We're starting with the very basics, with two scrolls. First, a portal scroll. This opens a portal to town, which is super useful. Then we have a wisdom scroll. It is used to identify items, especially in Act 1. You may find you run out of wisdom scrolls. You can get more by trading in a blacksmith whetstone, an orb of transmutation, or an armorer's scrap. Some currency changes or adds modifiers, also known as affixes, on an item. A useful one to know is the Orb of Transmutation, which upgrades a normal item to a magic item. It turns a white item into a blue one. It will either add one or two modifiers. A great use case early on are flasks, which can gain a lot of value by being magic instead of normal. An Orb of Alteration rerolls a magic item with new modifiers. You will get either one or two modifiers from using this. You may occasionally use this while leveling, but it's mostly used in endgame, so keep these stored. An Orb of Augmentation augments a modifier to a magic item. This only works if a magic item has one modifier. If you then use an Orb of Augmentation, it adds a second modifier to the item. You can also turn white items into rare items, yellow items, using an Orb of Alchemy. This can be very useful when leveling, especially when you find white items with the correct sockets and links. Use an Orb of Alchemy on it and you get random rolls, but usually it's at least somewhat okay and a very usable item. It will be better than the white item for sure. Another great resource to use while leveling are essences. Sometimes you find a monster that is frozen and you can free them by clicking on it and fight them. They will drop an essence. An essence is basically an alchemy orb with one guaranteed modifier. Feel free to use these essences if you get a decent white item that you want to turn into a yellow one. Essences are very common, so just use them and get those power boosts. There is another way to create a rare item by using an Orb of Chance. PoE has a lot of gambling elements, which are really fun, and this is one of them. An Orb of Chance has a chance to turn a white item into either magic, rare, or even unique if you're really lucky. They're always fun to use, but not super useful because the outcome is totally random. Have some fun with it while leveling though, you never know what might happen. We will not cover in this episode Regal Orbs, Chaos Orbs, Vaal Orbs, and Exalted Orbs. Just put them in a stash tab, they are very valuable. In late game we will use these a lot, so it's good to keep them at hand. Let's say you created an item, but you want to start with a clean slate. Maybe the modifiers didn't roll the way you wanted, maybe the essence you just used totally sucked and you have another essence you want to use. You can then use an Orb of Scouring, which removes all modifiers from a magic or rare item, turning it white. Sockets and colors are not impacted by this. Uniques never turn into white items either. You may have noticed that items have sockets and those have colors and links between them or connections. Enki's Archwitch tells you to look for a 3-linked blue item, for example, which means an item with 3 blue sockets that are linked with each other. You have basically 3 options to get this. 1. You find it out in the world. 2. You buy it from a vendor, or 3. You create one or alter an item yourself. That last option is a viable option while leveling, especially if you found a great unique item which doesn't have the right sockets and colors, and you need to use a few currency items for it that I'll go over right now. A jeweler's orb changes the number of sockets on an item. The maximum number depends on the item type. An Orb of Fusing changes the links between those sockets. The colors of sockets can be changed by using a chromatic orb. Before you start spending all of this currency, it is important to remember a few things. First, everything is RNG, but it is not totally random. There are certain things that influence the chances. Getting the maximum number of sockets is rarer than just getting 2 sockets, meaning it doesn't happen as often. With linking sockets, that is true as well. For example, linking 4 sockets with Orbs of Fusing takes maybe on average 10 of them. Linking 5 sockets takes around 75 Orbs of Fusing, and trying to link 6 sockets on average takes around 1500 Orbs of Fusing. This is really important to realize. I'll cover the exact numbers and more endgame crafting strategies when we reach endgame. Regarding socket colors, these are random, but depending on what sort of item it is, certain colors have much higher chances to roll than others. If strength is required to wear the item, red sockets are way more common. If intelligence is required to wear the item, blue sockets are much more common. And if dexterity is required, then green sockets are more common. Using chromatic orbs to create 4 blue sockets on a dexterity-based helmet is going to take you a very long time, and you will probably waste all your chromatic orbs, so be aware of that. A good source of chromatic orbs, by the way, are item drops with 3 different colors that are linked. They show up on the loot filter as well. Trade these in and the vendor gives you a chromatic orb in return. We ended the episode with 2 common currencies with special purposes. First, silver coins. They can be handed in at Navali to receive prophecies. Check out the video about that. And finally, regret orbs, which upon use grant you a respec point in the passive tree. We're using a guide, so we don't need these. Save them anyway in case you mess something up. And that's it, a short introduction to currency for beginners while leveling. You can ask questions in the comment section. A much more suitable place is the Discord, where others struggle to understand PoE as well, so you're not alone in that sense. I stream the game here on YouTube, and that's a great place to ask questions too. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one. Bye bye.